looks like we're live. Welcome, Facebook LabCoatAgents, and excited to be here again with StreetText. You know, one of our favorite systems that we talk about here all the time that has so many opportunities. And today we're just going to go over some really basic, but maybe something you guys haven't been thinking about. Some lead follow-up. I think it's super important. You know, I've heard this year over year. Fortunes in the follow-up. So anybody can go out there and generate leads, and I don't care what lead source you're doing, but if you don't have a system to follow up with those, they're almost they almost have no value. So I appreciate you guys being here today, and you know, we're just going to put together a system. Is this the perfect system? I don't know, but I can tell you it's better than the system that you don't have. So you know, start someplace, take what you want from this, and let's tweak from there. So without any further ado, I'll pass over to Troy and Ira and let you guys get started.
Yeah, I think you kind of put it into context in terms of what Troy and I do here at StreetText and what we do as a team. One of the advantages we have is we have this like 10,000 foot view of the collective. So like sometimes as an agent, you feel like you're an island. You're on your own trying to figure things out. You have no reference point as to what other people are doing. So because we are constantly having conversations, this is all we do all day long. We constantly see patterns and we measure them here at StreetText. We're always like, what are the things that are bringing people across the line to help them achieve their goals? And how can we serve our community better to help them nail down these basic fundamental concepts? So because we have that like 10,000 foot view, we thought, let's put together like a list of commonalities that our team sees in our successful users. The ones that go through the process, they use our tool and they're like singing from the rooftops about it, saying like, this is awesome, this is great, it's going to help me grow and multiply my business over time. So what we'll do is we'll kind of, and we figure we'll put it into an art. People like lists. Does anybody like lists? Some people love like, we're going to give you a 10-point list. We actually sent this and you'll get it in an email if you're here on the webinar. You'll get this list, but if you're the type of person who takes notes, you're going to have a list of 10 things that a successful user does with StreetText. So I'll share and we'll kind of go through that, and you can ask questions as we go along.
Yeah, everybody, if you want to ask any questions, please put them in the Q&A or the chat, whichever is easier for you guys. And we're happy to answer questions because ultimately we want you guys to get what you need from this. And if we're missing something, you know, please reach out. I think that's a huge part of that. And let me say, we are recording this and it will show up on the YouTube channel for those of you who look at this. And great, I got to watch that again. It will be on the LCA YouTube channel for you to watch over and over. So awesome. Back to you, Ira.
Yeah, so for sure, there's in no particular order. We just kind of put them together in 10. It's not like one stands out against the next, but we can kind of navigate as we go through. But let's kind of talk about the first thing. Like if you're going to do well on social media, you need to find an ad that generates cost-effective leads, and then you need to keep on top of it, meaning you need to just monitor it and you need to keep that funnel open. You need to keep new leads coming in to generate conversations with. And this is where a lot of people get stuck with this initial step, and they invest a ton of time in this initial step. They spend so much time trying to figure out how to launch an ad, trying to figure out how to run it. And that's part of what we do at StreetText. If you're wondering about us, is we help people land on cost-efficient ads within a 24-hour period with a split test. So you can have an ad up and running. But what we notice is a commonality between people who are struggling into comparison to people who are succeeding is that they're stopping and starting their ads like crazy. They're looking for the perfect ad that's going to have the perfect leads. And as soon as they have a not so good lead come in, they assume it's the ad and they turn the ad off and they split test again, and they're running multiple ads. So it's a commonality that we see consistently is people that are, we had somebody on our mastermind last week and he hasn't even turned his ad off. Like he lucked out. He's been with us for over a year now, but his ad has been on since he started his trial and he's never turned it off. And we're now a year later, he's talking about how he's had 12 transactions with StreetText now, and he continues to have more that he says are building, but his ad, his foot never came off the gas. The ad has always been producing leads. He's never second guessed the ad, and it's doing well. So he has no reason to ever turn the ad off.
So you mentioned split tests, and if you guys want to cover out what that is real quick, because I think maybe some of the people who aren't using the product currently may not know what a split test looks like for StreetText and what we're looking for. It's not just run 2 ads and go, well, I hope something worked. What are we looking for? What are the metrics? And that's one of the things that's great about StreetText is we can look at those metrics and actually say, oh, this is what this ad works. And let's just talk about why those work and what we're looking at to determine whether they're working or not.
Sure. So I can first off take on the split test and what that actually is. And then Ira, if you maybe could bring up like somebody's ad metrics, and we can kind of show you how we read those in StreetText and which ones are kind of the important ones to take a look at. So first off, a split test is the easiest way to describe it for most people is that they're familiar with an A/B test where you're testing copy A versus copy B, or you're testing this image versus that image, right? So with StreetText, what we've done is we've already done a lot of that testing, right? So we kind of know what imagery works, we know what copy works. And so now we want to take it to that next level, right? So when you've tested all of that, the final thing you actually want to test, and this is kind of a little known thing with Facebook, every single time you launch an ad, Facebook, based on your targeting, is going to select an audience for that ad. Now, you launch another ad, they're going to do the whole thing over again, and they're going to select another audience for that ad as well. Now, they're going to do a pretty good job with their algorithm, but each ad is actually going to get a slightly different audience than each other. Now, what we're going to do then is we're going to test that audience, knowing that each and every single ad is going to get a slightly different audience from each other. Now, did Facebook get it perfect? Did they get it absolutely correct? Maybe, most likely not, right? So we could roll the dice, launch one ad, and hope for the best, right? But the best thing to do is to actually go through and launch 3 ads for a split test. You're testing 3 different audiences. And what you're doing is you're going to do basically a control. You're going to use a scientific method. Each and every single ad is going to be identical to each other in the fact that they use the same image, they use the exact same copy. We're launching the ad in the exact same area. So we're doing a pin drop there, and each of the ad has the exact same budget. So those 4 variables have not changed. The only variable that has changed is that 5th one, which is the ad audience, right? So what we're going to do then is it's a very quick test, right? No more than 24 hours, right? You come in 24 hours later, you check on the ad metrics, and then you pick the winner and you turn off the losers. That's how you're going to maximize your ad spend in your market, which is really important because at the end of the day, Facebook really doesn't care how many leads you get on that. Yeah. They just care that you're spending money, right? So we want to make sure that we maximize that ad spend, get the most cost-effective lead in your market, and it's going to vary from market to market. Here in StreetText, we actually make that then easy. First off, to do the split test, it simply is clicking how many ads you want in your split test and then launching it. Whereas if you go into the Facebook Ads Manager, you're going to have to build each one of those ads 3 times, right, from scratch. So you can imagine the amount of time that would actually take. With us, it's just you select how many ads you want, you hit deploy, it's built for you. Next up, 24 hours later, you can come in and you can actually see the metrics on your ads within StreetText, as opposed to trying to dig them all out of Facebook. As Ira coined, we lovingly call the labyrinth of confusion. So we bring forward all these metrics, and we first start with a cost per click. So the CPC, as you're seeing here. And typically what we like to see is around the $2 mark, if not lower, right? Basically, this is what Facebook is going to charge you every time somebody clicks on the ad. So obviously the lower that cost per click, the more people are actually going to click on your ad, the more likely that they're going to leave info, right? And it just ups your chance that they're actually going to come through. The next thing that we take a look at then is how many clicks did you get on that particular ad, and how many leads did it actually result in? And so on this seller ad and the way it's set up, a lead is considered anybody who's left an address, a home address. So we look at that click to contact rate, and we want it to be 50% or better, right? So we, and I've seen people get 100% click to contact rate. That's when we do like a little dance and like super excited, but 50% or better.
Yeah.
Industry standard out there is around 2%, 3%, right? And we're talking about, we want to see you at 50% or better. All right, so that's kind of the key when you're looking at it from the StreetText perspective. And then we just break down the cost per lead. So how many leads did you get? How much did you spend? That gives you an average cost per lead. So how much it costs to acquire that address, and then how much it costs to acquire that email. On average, across all of North America, it's roughly about $2 to acquire an address, and then run $6. So in this case, this individual here, Brittany, is doing very well, but she would then compare each one of those, right? And it's not always necessarily the lowest cost per lead that's going to be your winning ad. It might be, an ad that has cost per email that's 50 cents more than the other ad, but that particular ad is giving you a few more phone numbers, a few more emails, or those addresses are coming from more desirable areas in your market, right? So of course I'd pay just a little bit more to get, that lead that I'm really looking for. So that's kind of what we're looking for, and we're monitoring that and staying on top of it. Now, Ira mentioned staying on top of it. Now, we're not talking about going in there and daily watching your ad and going, well, what's going on? What's going on? We're going, weekly, come and check in. You're going to have fluctuations. You're going to have seasonality, right? Through certain times of the year, the cost to acquire a lead actually rises and it comes down. There's ebb and flow. But if you see things drastically go off the rails, well, then okay, now I've got to launch another ad. Maybe I just hit at some fatigue on that. I've exhausted that audience. Maybe they just need to see something fresh and new, right? So staying on top of that is really important, because you do want to have cost-effective leads that you can actually follow up with.
Yeah, I think so. In looking at Brittany's account here, so we did the split test. This is the one ad, Facebook delivered it to an audience. This was the second ad. Facebook is exactly the same ad, but Facebook chose a random different sample audience. Here's the third ad, it chose a random sample audience. After 24 hours with the same spend, this one hadn't even gotten a single email lead. It had 5 clicks and 2 people. So whatever audience Facebook picked, they were looking for cat videos. They weren't looking for anything about their home value. They didn't click. Do you want Facebook to keep going after this audience? No, turn it off. The next ad, 1 person left an email. This ad had enough people, it's been running longer, that we kept this as the winner. Out of the 3 ads, this one was producing an audience that was engaging more and giving more info. Now here's the key. People that win understand this audience split test. They understand 24 hours later to pick their winner. And then they understand that the sprint is like how we pick the winner. So we set up a sprint, go, the gun goes off, 24 hours, we pick the winner. Now we're on a marathon. Now this is the victor, this is the winner. Now let's move to a marathon analogy. Now it's like, what ad's gonna last the test of time? If I don't get as many leads tomorrow, or I get a really crappy lead that has a horrible conversation with me, I don't go and turn the ad off and start the split test again. That gets costly and you're stopping and starting. What I do is I just keep the ad running. See what it does across the course of a week. See what it does across the, focus on the follow-up, focus on the follow-up, focus on the follow-up, not on the little intricacies of the ad, not on the little like ebb and flow of the ad. You just might have landed on an audience that's a bunch of weekend warriors. So Facebook on the weekend, there's not many of them online because they're out riding their bikes, they're doing things. And then during the week is when they're spending their time on Facebook. So you see your lead flow do this through the week, and then you see it go whoop over the weekend and then whoop again. So you want to just not be so jerk motion with your ebb and flow of an ad. Just keep it running. So we have people that are running the crappiest ads. Allison, her ad sucks. She doesn't know how to do the split test. She's not good at monitoring it. Her cost is way out of average lane. She's done 9 transactions with StreetText because she's just kept it on. She's just kept it running and she follows up, follows up, follows up. So don't get hyper focused on the exact cost of the lead and the leads that are coming in. Just keep an ad in your funnel open. Keep the tap on. Stop turning it off and on and expecting to have conversations when you have no conversation starter like an ad on Facebook.
And let me say this, a lot of people are probably going, oh my God, when do I turn it on? When do I turn it off? When do I do this? When do I do that? here's the whole key to this, and it's super, super simple. You call one of these guys, and you know, I'm an expert at selling real estate. I am not an expert at running Facebook ads, and I don't even want to try to become an expert at learning Facebook ads. And if you're an agent and you want to become an expert at doing Facebook ads, that's great. You're not going to have enough time to be an agent. So that's what these guys do. So if I'm going, hey, am I getting a good, is my ROI good? Is, you know, my CPC good? All those things that we start talking in acronyms. If you don't know, just reach out to these. That's one of the things that's great about StreetText is they will coach you, because the more successful you are, the better it helps them. So it's a huge win-win. And if you don't know what to do next, reach out to your coach. And by the way, every single person who joins StreetText gets a coach. So you have somebody who you can bounce ideas off. Don't run solo. I mean, there's absolutely no reason. Honestly, that may be the biggest value out of the entire system, is being able to talk to you guys and get that coaching as we move forward. So.
Yeah, that's like, it's one of the things that is really important to us. And we even have daily classes, like specifically around the ads, right? So if you're not sure what ad to run, or you want some, help with reading those ad metrics, come to the class. We'll personally take a look. We'll guide you through that. You don't have to guess. Obviously, we're trying to make it as easy as possible to do this, but for us, it's easy. Because we're in it, we're in the weeds every day, and we get new people that come in and they're like, okay, well, you guys have made it easier than Facebook, but I still don't understand all of this, right? Totally fine. We got your back. No question is a dumb question. Ask away. And one of the things that we even do is we actually offer some of the classes as a group setting. Because a lot of people have the very same questions. And I've had some amazing sessions where we get chatting and this person's having this struggle, and I give an example, and then they break off into what they're doing for their follow-up, and then everybody else's eyes open up and light bulbs go on. They're like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. I'm going to do that. So it's, you get this kind of collaborative idea, and you also get to meet people, and so they're encouraging you, right? So there's a real community in there, and that's what we find is really important. And we'll cover that in a little bit.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think it's one of our points coming up.
There we go. Maybe I should have read the slides.
Yeah. Let's jump to number 2. So if you're keeping track, this is number 2 if you want to take notes. The idea of, we hear a lot of people qualify leads based on their response with it. So all of a sudden they're like, these are crap leads. Like, one person's trash is another person's treasure, right? So it's like, treat any leads as good leads and see the opportunity that produces it. So you saw in that ad, and we talked about the fact that that particular ad, you can get just an address submission. And there's plenty of people that say, well, I don't want an address. An address isn't a good lead. But for the plenty of people that are siding with that mindset, there's also a set of people that are in our community that are being successful, that are like, address onlys are my favorite. Like, address onlys are the ones I've had the most success with. Address onlys, I put so much time around the process that I'm working with, because it's been a successful endeavor for me. Like Donna Swansea, who's done 200 plus deals, we stopped counting here at StreetText. She loves her address only follow-up. And she tells stories about how 12 months later, she ends up at an appointment, not knowing how she got the invite. And then she sees the bulletin flyer sitting on their counter when she comes in. They took it, they stuck it on their fridge. She made a memorable impression, and they just weren't ready. And they called her later. And because she just didn't hit them once, she actually had a plan that had a mailer that kept going out to them, that kept her front of mind. So it's really this idea is like, how often do we label leads as bad leads, and we don't put a strategy behind seeing whether they're good or not? Like, if you reach out once, you can't really say it's a good lead or bad lead. Like, if they clicked on a Facebook ad, they didn't this was a very low level of commitment. So the expectation that this relationship is going to go from a Facebook click to like, hey, come over to my house, let's have dinner, you want champagne, is often a bad expectation. So people that are doing well qualify like all the leads are good, but I just need to work through them and find out where they're at, and touch base is good enough to see the good come to fruition.
Absolutely. I think that's so critical in lead follow-up, and it doesn't matter what lead source you're working with. So, we'll take I think you guys said around $2 is the average, lead that you're buying across the country. I'll take a $300 lead that I'm buying on Zillow. That person can ghost me just as well as the $2 lead I bought on Facebook. But I don't call up Zillow and say your leads suck. So it's almost never the leads. And, statistically speaking, for every 100 real estate leads generated, there's only 5 closings. It's a crazy numbers game, and that's all we're doing, guys. The fortune's in the follow-up, and build relationships. And that's really what these guys are saying. I want to talk real quick, and maybe you guys might have some more insight. The address only leads, I found those to be the best leads. The reason I think those people are scared, and scared is probably a strong word, but they don't want me to sell them something because they're ready to take action and they don't want to be sold. If I'm 3 years out or never going to sell my house, I'll just tell the salesman, I don't care, leave me alone. But all of a sudden a salesman starts talking to me and it scares me that I might actually get sold something. So please work those address only leads. Oftentimes they're the ones who want to list here in the next 30 days. And it's really a surprising metric.
Well, think about it when you go into a retail store, somebody comes up to you right away. How can I help you? Right? And you're like, I'm just browsing. Like we all do it. But you entered the store, you kind of are intending to buy, right? Like you're looking around for something. You're just not ready yet to talk to that person, right? But sure enough, when you're looking for that jean size, who are you going to call over? That person said, hi, welcome to the store, right? So you take that kind of mentality, like it's just a defense mechanism if somebody leaves an address only. Now, what's surprising is if you're that person that, hey, they just left you an address and you actually followed through and provided something of value, that's going to be that memorable moment. You're like, oh, wow, I didn't expect that person to show up at the door and bring me cookies. I don't know, whatever you're going to do. But, and then the other thing to realize with treat any lead as a good lead is the reality is anybody who owns a home, at some point, 100% of them are going to sell their home.
Yeah.
Right? So that could be tomorrow. Exactly, right? It could be a couple months from now, it could be years from now, it could be when they retire. Who knows? Right? We don't know. They've submitted their address, we have no idea. But the only reason that they have not listed with you is because they don't have any relationship with you. You're not memorable, right? Like there just wasn't, and somebody else did. And that's, and so don't miss that opportunity. That's kind of like, okay, especially with a lead on Facebook that just clicked on that and hasn't committed anything, as Ira said, right? They don't know you from Adam. So that's where you're building into that relationship. How are they going to get to know you? Do I trust you? Do I even like identify with you? Maybe we don't, and that's totally fine, right? So we have agents that are in StreetText that have these amazing personalities and they do all sorts of crazy stuff, right? Some are heavy into biking, some are like in the weekend warriors where they're like Jeep through the red rocks and all that crazy stuff. And so if I see that agent, that might not be me, and that's totally fine. But at least if they got to see you as a human and see your personality, your job is kind of done.
I keep relating it to here I am in the Kelowna market in BC, Canada here, and I've never used a real estate agent here. I've used one in Ontario, but guess what? I have a couple in mind that I might use. I've already decided it's going to be this person because I know they were connected to somebody I know and had a good experience, or it's going to be this person. And I haven't decided yet. But we'll see, like which one's going to be in my face the most often, which one is going to be, what am I going to see? Like I haven't told them, I haven't reached out and said, hey, guess what? You're in the running. Like you and this guy that I know, I'm thinking about it. And like in a year from now, I might call you. So, and if I said that, they'd be like, okay, hi, let me outside. They'd be bringing me cake. They'd be bringing me champagne. They'd be wishing me happy birthday on Facebook. They'd be telling me how beautiful my kids were. But I haven't told them that. So oftentimes people make a decision or they're in the process of making a decision, but you're not privy to it. You're not privy to what that decision is. So you're missing the opportunity because people are in that space. They just haven't told you yet. So I think that's key to understand. Should we jump to the next slide?
Let's do it.
We have a lot to get through.
Yeah, let's do it.
Are you taking notes? Number 3, have an appropriate, and this kind of plays on the second one, good lead, have an appropriate follow-up system for each lead. How many times do we hear here at StreetText, well, I need more phone numbers. Like I want phone numbers. Like what ad can I produce with phone numbers? And then I'll always challenge that person. I'll say, okay, well, you need more phone numbers, but you also have a bunch of emails from people that clicked on the ad that need a home value that didn't give you their phone number. So what is it that your client needs? What is it that the person asked for needs? They didn't give you a phone number because they didn't want you to call them, but they did give you an email address because they wanted their home value. So while you're waiting for the next phone number, some of our community is putting a strategy together to use email in a more like way that's going to produce more fruit. They're not just eliminating one sense of a lead because they like to work with phone numbers. They're saying, okay, how do I learn how to work with emails? Because this thing is changing. Like, I don't pick this thing up. Like, I don't answer this phone if I don't know who the number is. Like, if I don't know the number. So like our world is changing in the sense that people are not more likely. So it's, I think if you've been in the business longer, that's one of the harder things to like let go of, is like, you're good at picking up the phone, but the new generation coming up is not as good at picking up the phone. So do we just want to miss the boat on that type of lead, or do we want to learn a new strategy to get a new audience, to get some new potential business?
Well, and you know, I want to piggyback on the iPhone there, or I don't know if you have an iPhone or Android, doesn't really matter, but the cell phone. So guys, this is a funny story and I wish it wasn't true. In the last 2 weeks, 4 people who work on my team blocked me. They didn't do it on purpose, but if they're blocking me, they're blocking you. And what I mean by that is, you know, the iOS specifically has made it extremely easy to block people. As a matter of fact, it's so easy they accidentally blocked me, and they didn't want to. By the way, like, I actually had someone reach out to me, say, are you mad at me? They sent me a text message. Are you mad at me? And I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? So if that's happening with people who want to talk to me, it's definitely happening with people who aren't. So what kind of follow-up systems do you have inside of email? And here's what I like about email, by the way. I'm not a huge fan of email in general, but here's what I like about it. I can automate it. In other words, I can have 700 people simultaneously on an email drip. I can't call 700 people a day. At least I can't. Maybe you guys can, but that's, you know, but I can have 700 people automatically, and that's just a random number. So what kind of follow-up are we seeing with that email stuff?
I was giving Troy a chance to, you know, using services like BombBomb and video and putting more personality in your video, in your emails, is really key. Like, if I clicked on the ad, and this will touch on one of the other points we're getting to, is like, personalize that email. Like, make it look like it's not automated, make it look like I recorded it specifically for you. So then I feel obligated to respond to you. Like, you took the time to send this to me. You're a person. This isn't some sort of machine pumping out a number. It's a person that's actually taken the chance to reach out to me. So it's like, use that email, use the tracking. And you really, we always say that StreetText or Facebook advertising in general, whether you're using StreetText or not, your funnel is your future deals. We are all so busy focusing on what's in front of us that we never have an action plan in the background that's building our email funnel. I mean, here at StreetText, we have like hundreds of thousands of people on email lists just from interactions that we've done with people. And we can keep like updating people. Hey, we have new services available now. We have new things that might help, but we're always adding value in our emails. We're always reaching out and doing things like that. So your email list, like at Christmas time, a bunch of our users were sharing how they were going into BombBomb. They had pulled all their leads from StreetText into BombBomb, and they sent, it does it over the course of a week. They just sent a touch base with everybody and said, hey, it's the holidays. Our market is crazy. You probably need an update. And because they have hundreds of people in their database, they generated a bunch of responses when they were slow, when things had slowed down a little bit. So you got to think of email and your email list as a touch point that you can always go back to as you're building in those slower times to see where people are at. I started the conversation 3 months ago. A lot can change in 3 months. So where are people at? So I think it's key of understanding the value of an email list, because you know that can't be taken away from you. Like, people can unsubscribe to it, but you can keep growing that list and always have a database of people to keep reaching out to.
Absolutely. One of the keys too is, like, we get excited about automated emails and automated text messages, and they're all great because they've taken the human out of the process and allowed it just to kind of happen for you. But the key now is then to humanize that process, right? Bring yourself in. So those Christmas emails, and it's like, hey, Merry Christmas, and there's a tree and all that stuff behind it. Personality, there's a human there. That's something that I can connect to. Yeah, it may be automated, but it feels more personal, right? So when we do those little things by putting video in and even just your face, even if there's just a photo of you or of something, it just humanizes the whole thing. And I think a lot of people forget about that.
It's so important. It really is. You know, people want to do business with people they know, like, and trust. And the first way to do that is to have some kind of connection. We did a thing where we had everyone send us a picture of their Christmas tree. And we just reached out and say, hey, send us a picture of your Christmas tree. We're going to send the best one a $25 gift card. And so one agent on my team did that, and then people loved it. They're like, yeah, let me show you my Christmas tree. Let me show you this, and now we're interacting, and we're not talking about real estate, but that's a heck of a lot better than would you like to sell your house? I mean, let's have real conversations. It's easy to work with your friends. It's easy to work with people who like you. It's hard to work with, those one word, I don't like you kind of people. And we have such an opportunity to do that. So really appreciate that humanizing comment. That's awesome.
Yeah, let's jump into the next one. So here's the thing that we hear all the time from people, and this is the advantage we have, is a lot of the strategies that we're suggesting are because people tested them and we saw the cumulative result of what that strategy was. So oftentimes you're like, people would say, I think this would be an awesome idea. And they go and they do it. And they're like, it wasn't as awesome as I thought it was. Like, that didn't work. And they say success leaves clues. And if you want to be successful, you want to follow the strategies of people with things that are working. And it's such human nature to think, well, I can do it better. I can do it better. Well, that's great. Go and do it better. But first, build a foundation on the success of people who have already had success. So if someone's saying to you, I've had success and this is what I'm doing, do that first, because then you have the comparative value. And then if you have an idea that you think is going to bring it to the next level, you have a comparison. People do it all the time in our trial, or even an ad that I've had somebody running for a long time. And we suggest a localized image, something that catches local people's attention. Ad's been doing fantastic. She was like, branding, I'm going to put a picture of me in the ad. So she just removed the picture in Ads Manager and put a picture of herself in the ad. Instantaneously, overnight, no more leads. And she's like, my ad's broken. I don't know what's going on. And I go and look at it and I'm like, you changed the picture. It was working. Why did you change it? Now you've learned a lesson. You can say, it failed. Well, no, you learned a lesson. You learned that this actually works. You tested out what you thought might work. It didn't work. Go back to baseline. So it's a lot of us don't establish a baseline in our business. We assume, especially we come in and we're like, well, I want to be here, but you haven't actually established a foundation and a baseline of the success of what people are working. And if I'm going to reinvent the wheel, let's do it incrementally. Let's change the first email. I'll give you an example here at StreetText. So part of my email campaign, I was like, agents are really, really busy. Sometimes they just want the info and they want to go. They don't want to wait for our onboarding webinar. They don't want to do this. So I did our onboarding webinar in 10 minutes. I did the fastest version of here's everything you need to know in 10 minutes. And I did this video and I put it in my email campaign. And we were talking about it. I don't know if that's going to work. It's going to be too long. Well, I watched it. I was surprised by the amount of people who were watching that entire 10-minute video, because I can measure it in BombBomb. And I was surprised at how many people were taking an action step after it. They were actually going and doing what the video told them to do. So now that I tested it, even though it was a departure from the normal, it is showing to be a valuable thing to the user. People are using it. So I've kept it in there and refined it. But let me tell you, if I ran it for a couple of weeks and I didn't see it being watched, I'd remove it. This is not working. I did a departure from baseline and it tanked. Let's go back to a strategy that works.
Absolutely. Real quick question, Ira, you may not know this off the top of your head, maybe you know, Troy, but approximately how many leads a month does StreetText generate?
Great
Ballpark?
question. Lots.
Okay. Well, here's
Overall, I wish
my
I had
point
that
of
number
this,
for you.
and it's not really that important. It's got to be hundreds of thousands, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you're a good agent and you're spending $9 a day, like we suggest after we go through this thing, you're producing what? 3 leads a day, 4 leads a day? We'll call it 4. 4 times 30 is 120. These guys are producing 100,000. You're producing 120. Why not copy their data? That's the beauty of working inside the system. You don't have to figure this out. Rip off and deploy. And I think that's a huge thing that people do. Let all of the data community do the testing. And if you want to do something cool, do something cool. That's fine. But use what works. You don't have to reinvent the wheel unless you want to go into marketing instead of real estate. Steal somebody else's stuff.
Yeah, and we do that in our ad innovation classes. So we have a class every week where people have ideas of the type of client they want to reach and the idea of an ad to run. Our marketing team gets together and they go, okay, here's a good idea. And then they take users in our audience or in our membership here and they test it out on multiple accounts. We pull all the data from all those different markets and we say, the 12 in the title isn't working. Let's try 5. Let's try changing the image. And then suddenly we land on something that's getting success across all users. And then we go, this ad's working well. Let's make it a template. So you don't have to build it from scratch. Now you just click a button and you can use something that's been tried and true.
Absolutely.
We spend so much time. I mean, myself included in my years in different careers, is I've spent so much time thinking that I could reinvent the wheel. Like I watch what somebody else does and I'm like, oh, I could do it better. And then I started to ask myself the question, well, they're really successful. Like they're doing really well. Why do I always feel like I have to check my pride and say, hey, what are they doing? I might not agree with the way that they operate or the type of person I perceive them to be. However, they have a track record of success. So what can I use that they're doing to help me bring my message and do my thing in my business moving forward?
Awesome. Well, we got to move. I know I asked too many questions. Sorry, guys. So we'll go back and we're about to get there. So
number 5. I think all of these, some of them as we go, we've already touched on some of them. Perfect. So this is one of them. Be coachable, teachable, and contribute to the community. Like one of our users said it best. They came into the group and they basically petitioned people and said, hey, if you're not getting what you want from StreetText, why aren't you on the masterminds asking more questions? Like you have a whole community of real estate agents that are like, this is what's working. This is how it's working. Even some of our community members were like, hit me up, call me, ask me, we'll talk about it, which we think is such an awesome part of our community. But again, I think it comes down to pride sometimes too, or appearing like you don't know anything. So we're so preoccupied with not appearing like an amateur. Oftentimes people say to me, Ira, I've done so well in real estate. I've done really, really good. I'm just struggling with social media. So it's almost like they don't want to admit, but I'm struggling. So it's just admit it. I'm struggling. I need help. I'm going to ask questions and go to people and have no pride in this. Let's uncover this. Let's ask questions. Let's be part of the community.
And you're not alone if you didn't get into real estate to become a social media person. I didn't get into real estate for that. I didn't get in real estate to learn tech. I got real estate to sell houses and communicate with people. And all this is the modern version of that. And it's okay that you're not an expert at it. That's why you use someone else's program. So, don't be embarrassed. I mean, I screw up daily, so it's okay. Find something that works for you. And here's the beauty of this. Go into your own office right now, if you're at a big brokerage, and ask the top producer to tell you exactly what they're doing to be successful, and good luck. You're not going to find out. They'll tell you something maybe, and some people are givers. I'm not saying, but this community, there's hundreds of people in here just saying, here, this is what works. This is what works. This is what works. It's like the key to the kingdom, but people are unwilling to do it because they're unwilling to maybe not, look as smart as you do. And looking smart's overrated.
The other thing too is, yeah. Well, the other thing to remember too is a lot of people want to hold their cards close to their hand. They don't want to share their secret, right? And the reality is there's more than enough market share out there for everybody. Amen. Right? You can't sell an entire city. Let's be honest, right? But and so if you do find what works, add that into a community, whatever community you're involved with. I mean, Lab Coats is a community, right? You can share ideas. And what's really cool is when you share those ideas and you share those things that are working for you, sometimes they get spit back and refined. And you're like, oh man, somebody had, I brought this and they took it and then they did this with it. And now you get to bring that back to what you originally started, which is really cool, right? So you have the opportunity of actually getting it better, quicker with a group of people, right? Than sitting there on your own trying to like, okay, you know, I've got it all and I know what I'm doing. It's like, maybe not. Maybe there's some ideas out there. Maybe you contribute. And when you contribute, you actually get that back. That's rewarded back. So
I love it.
Super vital.
So I think, as I said, we're hitting on these things as we go, and they're starting to come up in the next step and the things we're noticing. So it's understanding the value of your database. I think we've already hit on this, and nurturing it over time. So like understanding the filling that funnel is so key, and nurturing it over time and not expecting instantaneous results from your funnel that just stop you from making the actionable steps to continue nurturing it until you see it produce results. We have a saying here, I don't even know where it came from. I've been talking about it recently, like see something through to value, like see, like instead of just automatically assuming there's no value in it. Well, have you seen the process through to create the value in it before you jump ship? And we so often jump ship and we don't see things through the value. Let's hop to the next one. Always deliver on what is requested, and keep stacking value. So many people say to me, these leads aren't good. Like I called them and they hung up on me. I said, well, what did you call them and say? Well, I said, hey, you know, are you interested in selling your home? Well, the ad they clicked on said like 12 tips to know before you sell your home. Like, so there's a disconnect between what I asked for and what you're delivering. So are you giving me what I asked for? And I talked about it this morning with a group. I said, hey, it's not about what do you want? You want sales. When do you want them? You want them now. But it's not about what you want or when you want it. It's about what other people want and when they want it. So when you make your business about what other people want, people sense that in your posture and in your delivery, and you're going to create more conversations. So it's important. Like, what did I ask for? Are you delivering that to me? And then are you delivering me more value instead of jumping to, I want the sale and I want it now? Let's like put that later on in the process, because you demonstrated and you earned, we really have to earn it, the right to be able to help me with the largest transaction in my life. Like really, we have to earn it. It shouldn't just be given to us.
Love it.
Yeah, one of the things like I love the keep stacking value, because you just keep giving more value and keep putting that on top. A lot of people are like, well, I don't know what to do with my follow-up. Like, I don't know where to go from here once they've done the initial, you know, offer or request that's there. And I'm like, okay, well, cool. I don't know, send out your favorite seasonal recipe, but with no ask other than I would just like to share my favorite seasonal recipe with you guys, right? Like, okay, cool. I was joking with one of our clients the other day, and we're talking about, you know, how hot it's been and all that stuff. And I'm like, put together a 10 tips for surviving 100-degree weather, right? And you can have fun with it. You know, one guy I know, he their pool was so warm, he actually got a whole bunch of bags of ice and threw it in the pool. I'm like, what if you took a photo of that and included it in your email? It goes out for tips. I mean, people would think that's hilarious. It's memorable and it's adding value, right? With no ask. You're not saying, oh, and by the way, would you like to sell your home? Right? You're like, no, here's 10 tips. And they just keep remembering. You just keep providing that value.
I think this ties into the next point, like track your hot versus your not engaged leads. So when you're using software that shows you, like we have a marketing interaction score in our dashboard that shows you how often that contact has been like clicking on, opening, responding to all your automations. The higher the number, the more hot the lead is. People in our system put people onto HomeBot. They stack value, they put them onto HomeBot. Then they can see who's in their HomeBot account clicking on things. Well, guess what that person becomes? That person becomes your list of hot leads, your people that are engaged. Like we're so focused on, well, nobody's responding. Well, no, there were some people responding. You just hyper focused on the not engaged, and you missed the opportunity to stack value on somebody who was engaged, where you could have looked at the neighborhood they were. You could have made a note to send them updated sales in their area and sent them a little report saying, hey, I just don't know if you know, but your neighborhood's been pretty hot lately. Here's some recent sales in your neighborhood. Let me know if you want me to come by and kind of get an estimate of where you would position in today's current market. So, you know, rate your leads. Like I heard one of our users once said he has his top 20. So he goes through all of his leads and he takes his top 20 people and he uses those as his like hot follow-up. He does that extra bit of value stacking with those leads because they're showing promise. They might not even responded yet, but through the clicks and the trackability, we can tell they're engaged.
That's great. You know, there's so much, the fortunes in the follow-up, and who do I follow up with, right? So I'm going to follow up with the people who are taking it, who are making it action. I'm going to treat them differently. And it, you know, there's millions of different ways you can score leads, but come up with a way, do that. I can tell you, when I was active selling real estate, I had literally had a whiteboard and I had 20 people on that whiteboard. They were my top 20. And no matter what, my philosophy was, if these people buy or sell a house, it's with me. And that was my only rule. And, you know, it's just people to stay in front of you. And, you know, that's kind of an old school system. There's many, many new school systems, but here's the key: have a system. And I think that's what so many people miss.
And I think you can also like do things like on Facebook, you can organize your friends into friends lists.
Mm-hmm.
So you can organize people into a list that somebody I want to keep in front of. And I'll purposely go into that Facebook list and I will make true, honest, I'm not just like blowing wind up at people. I'll make true, honest comments. Like if your kid is adorable, cute, I'm going to like, your kid is so cute. Like, oh my God, this just made me smile today. I'm not blowing fake stuff at them. I'm actually truthful about it, but I'm intentional about being in front of them. So like the likes and the comments, there's just strategies and intentionality in keeping in front of people, which will make your business grow that way. And then I think we always got to look at this, like these ideas are all great, but if you have nowhere in your schedule in a 7-day period where you're doing these things, they're never going to get done. Like I had a call with somebody today and he was saying like, Ira, it's such a good tool. I'm just not using this. And he goes, it's not you guys, it's a pattern in my career. He goes like, I know it's a pattern that's holding me back. So we said, well, this is what you need to do next. And you need to do it by what date? This date. When are you going to do it? Which day, what time, where are you going to put that in your calendar? And there's different ways to time block. But if you haven't done any time blocking, the expectation that something is going to work, it's just not going to work. People that are doing this well, you can ask them, when do you do this? Like, and they'll say, I get up in the morning, I check here, I send my home values, I check up on what I did yesterday, and I do this. Jennifer Seltzer, one of our amazing like community members, she does a different type of time blocking, but she's always like, I have a list of things I do and a certain amount of time I spend on it, and it always gets done on that day. And sometimes it gets done earlier in the day, but sometimes it's 10 o'clock at night. And I'm like, I gotta do the thing that I said I would do on Tuesdays to move my business forward. And I gotta spend the time I dedicated this to it.
Yeah, I love that. I love that you say non-negotiable. And I love how you described Jennifer there. So, you know, when you make a commitment to do something, it doesn't mean, well, I got busy. It means I'm going to do it no matter what. And if you talk to the most successful people in any industry, this is not real estate specific. It's the people who do the little things consistently over time. And that's what this is. Hey, I'm going to set aside an hour a day to work on StreetText, 30 minutes a day to work on StreetText, whatever it is. I would rather see you do that. Remember this, it's a marathon, not a sprint. So this is what happens all the time. I'm sure you guys see it. Well, I haven't done anything for a week and a half. I'm going to sit down for 4 hours and work on StreetText. And I do that. And then 3 months later, I do it again. That doesn't work. The 30 minutes, an hour, 2 hour, whatever it is, that consistently over time, that's how you guys are going to be successful moving forward with a product like this.
Yeah, this isn't real estate, but the character of developing the character and habit of consistency is something worth spending time on. So I've done these like 30-day challenges before where it was like, I live in a beautiful place and I had a pool in my backyard and summer would come and I wouldn't even be in the pool. And I was like, I'm going to jump in the pool for 30 days straight. And it was because I wanted to get a pattern in my life. So there was one night I went to bed at 11 o'clock at night and realized I didn't jump in the pool. And I literally went out to the backyard and I just lowered myself in the pool with my clothes on. I didn't even get in my bathing suit. And I got out and I went back in the house. So it's like, just challenge yourself and get accountable with some people to develop the characteristic of consistency in your habits. You'll be surprised at how far you can go in the course of a year with this type of thing. Like we always say, this isn't a transactional thing. This isn't like, we don't want you to get the one deal and clap. Like, great, you got the one deal. What is this going to look like if you keep these consistent behaviors across the board for an entire year? How is that going to transform or change your business?
Awesome. Well, listen, we're a little bit over, but they haven't kicked us off, so we're going to finish up.
Hey, how do we finish up with this one? Take responsibility.
I think this is the biggest one. Like in many ways, I see it all the time where people are like, well, this isn't working. It's not working out. And you look through like, have you done anything? Have you done anything with what's in there? Right. And it's like, you have to take responsibility for your actions to this. You know, if you sign up to any program, if you commit to anything, take that responsibility and take it seriously. And then, you know, at the end of the day, if you've done all you can do, right? Like that's a conversation we can have, right? It's like, well, it's not working out. And then you show me that you've done everything possible to do it. Okay, great. Then it's not working out. But unless that's the case, you know, then there's something more you can do. Sorry. Somebody scrubbed the floor in the background. So I'll just mute.
Is that your dog? I was like, what?
What
Dog
is
breathing heavy? He's giving a face. I'm on a webinar. So to sum it up, I mean, here's the points that we kind of went through. And I think here, one of the big things I've noticed, we have these people that we reach out to and all of a sudden they're like, yeah, I've been killing it with StreetText. And we've never even heard from them. Like, they're just like, yeah, I did 12 transactions last year. We're like, well, what do you mean you did 12 transactions? Come on our mastermind. The one big commonality through all of that is a posture of confidence. You can tell in the way that they're delivering their content that when they call a lead, they're confident. They know if you hang up on them, that's okay, that's life, let's move on to the next person. And the way that they're talking to the lead, that confidence is coming off. Well, how do you get confident? You do these things consistently. You don't get confidence. I always say, they say gained confidence because you actually have to gain it. You actually have to do something to become confident. And oftentimes they're like, well, when I'm confident, I'll do the thing. No, just start doing the things consistently that people are showing to have success with, and you will gain confidence over time and your posture will change. So when you call the lead to have the conversation, it's going to go better. Like, as we said, you give that same lead to somebody else who calls with confidence, the conversation's different. The conversation and that pattern and that conversation is different. So it's really about questioning, do I have the proper confidence? And if I don't, not like kiboshing yourself, what do I need to do to become more confident? Well, I need to keep doing the things that make me confident. I always say, do the things that make you want to throw up. Like, if it scares you, do it consistently, because soon that'll become part of your wheelhouse.
Absolutely. Yeah, for those of you who are scared to call leads, I'll tell a quick story. Very first lead I ever got in real estate was a lead handed to me by a mortgage person and said, this person would like to buy a house. Please call them. It took me 4 hours to make that phone call. I was so scared. And that's like literally the easiest lead you're ever going to get outside of your best friend. So we've all suffered from a lack of confidence. And here's the thing. Here's one of the tricks to get confidence. I know that Ira's good at this. I know that Troy is good at this. I know that I can copy these people. So if I'm not confident in my own ability, just do what they do. That's how you have confidence. Now, eventually you'll build competence. In other words, you'll be able to do it and understand why you're doing it. In the meantime, fake it till you make it. And at the end of the day, you know, just do a good job. And if you need help, reach out to somebody. There's always people that will help you, whether it's a StreetText or somebody at your brokerage to help you. You can get help. That's not the problem. The problem is taking that action. You know, little ready, fire, aim isn't always a bad idea. So
the reality is too, is that we've all been there. Right? We've all been scared to pick up that phone, and you pick it up and you're like shaky. And it's like the worst thing in the world, right? And then you realize you do it and then you're like, well, Okay, it wasn't great, but it wasn't that bad. I didn't die, right? And then the more you do it, you're like, well, actually, this isn't too bad. Okay, and then even too, if you haven't done it for a while, guess what happens? That confidence
A little
wanes.
rusty.
Phone, right? So
That's what we say. I always say, don't let the lull overtake you. Like
Love it.
Whenever you feel like, oh, I'm lulling out and I have been doing the patterns, that's the instantaneous moment you need to pick up the phone and do something. So it's like when you feel the lull happening, do something that takes you out of the lull. Because if you don't do something for a week, it's like starting over from scratch again. It's
Amen.
like, here we go again. So just don't let the lulls turn into a month. Like the lulls happen. I always say you fall off the wagon. You just have to learn how to pick yourself up quicker to get on the wagon faster every time so that those lulls aren't lasting as long.
Awesome. Well, guys, let's hear your final thoughts and then we'll button up.
I feel like if you want this email, we can send this little list to you. We do have the PDF.
Please do.
But we're always grateful to be part of the LabCoatAgents. You see the value that you guys offer to people that are out there. And we love the fact that the community is so engaged with each other and it's a place where people could be encouraged. So I just want to say, I don't think we've ever really taken the time to say thank you for,
awesome.
We understand the community and what you've built and put value into it. So the fact that you keep inviting us back and want us to be part of it means that you value what we do. And I think it's a good place to be in community with people that value each other.
Amen. Troy?
I mean, of course, I could say it, come check us out if you're interested in what we have to offer. If you're not, that's totally fine. I hope that you found value out of this, and we're always here to help you find value in any way we can, because we do truly want everyone to be successful. It really is at the heart and soul of what we do. And we literally, every time we see breakthroughs or somebody gets a listing or somebody closes a deal, we high five each other. Like it's awesome. We want to celebrate that, but we're also there for those lows too. So, and help, okay, it's okay. Pick yourself up. Here's what you need to do next. So
can I add one more thing? If you do the trial, don't keep your distance from it. I learned a lesson being on this side of the transaction, that there's so many times where I tried to learn about something the hard way. I was like, I'm just going to stay over here so no one sells me, and I'm going to check out what this is. And then if I'm interested, I'm going to go in. And what I realized is I didn't get to see the product. I didn't get to see that action. I was using it with my limited knowledge base. So if you do your trial, come to the demos, come to our masterminds, connect with your coach. We want to know if it's a fit, because if it's not a fit, don't join our community. Go do things that are going to be a fit for you. And that's our mentality here. So just click the trial button, use it, connect, and get a good grasp on what it is.
Awesome. So let's talk about where you can do that. So if you go on Facebook, you'll see we put the free trial in there. That's a 1-week free trial. There's no catches to it. I will say this, they're not going to pay for your ads, but they will give you the system for free for 1 week. And that system includes the access to the mastermind. It includes access to a coach directly one-on-one. And you'll be able to figure out, and here's what I'll say. I'm going to piggyback on what Ira said. Jump in with both feet. Why not? You've got a week to go ahead and use this thing, jump in with both feet and do work. Now, you're going to find out a lot in that first week, and that'll be an amazing process for you, but give it a chance. This is a great product that's simple and easy to use. And I've always said this, usually about once a quarter, you need to add a lead source. So if you're looking for what's a lead source that I can add at a reasonable price, this is a great opportunity. Let me also say that this has been recorded. And if you guys want to watch it again, I think there was some great information that Ira and Troy shared today. It will be on the YouTube channel on LCA. So again, guys, I really appreciate you. Great product, great webinar, great information. Whether you want to use StreetText or not, there was really good information today, and we appreciate you guys being on. So thank you so much, everybody.
Thanks.